Right, we're excited to have an exclusive conversation with the Vice Chancellor, Professor Ndlovu, here at the Vaal University of Technology. The institution has been faced significantly with some challenges, recently, of course, even before. This, of course, would have included the leadership instability, the financial difficulties, and the administrative issues. However, the institution was also placed under administration in 2019, and of course there were a series of vice chancellors that had been appointed, who had assumed office. Now it's Ndlovu. We're going to be having this conversation with just to find out what is the state of affairs at the university. But first we're going to kickstart just to understand his role, his work, his background in as far as education is concerned. Prof, thank you so very much for making time and for talking to us.
You're welcome.
Prof, you are here at the Vaal as the newly appointed Vice Chancellor. How has it been for you? It's almost a year, I think.
Oh, it's been a year.
Yeah.
I started in February, and it's March now, so I finished a year.
Yeah. How has it been?
I think it has been well. Put it this way, I think I was well received by everyone. From council, senate, but also staff and students. And in as much as there is a lot of work to be done, and the university, as you say, probably has experienced challenges in the past, leading to administration and so on. But we hope that we're setting the university in a new path, in that it has to be a university designed for what it's supposed to be, producing quality graduates, entrepreneurial graduates, but also add value in the South African context in terms of research and innovation. But to do all those things, we do need support from our staff, but more so our academics and researchers. The community also significantly plays a major role in that process, because whatever we do here has to also reflect our engagements with the communities.
Right.
Because the products that we're having have to go out and work in communities.
Well, you had already indicated, of course, the institution faces a lot of challenges. And here you are in your journey as a leader and as a visionary as well. A decision for you to say, I'm going to apply for that role at the Vaal University of Technology. What could have been a motivation behind that for you to say, whether that ship is sinking or not, I want to see myself there and be the one probably that the community of the Vaal, the institution itself, can trust to be the one who can sort of get them out of the mud, for the lack of a better word?
Yeah. It's not an easy decision. But of course, having understood the history of the university and the fact that one way or the other, somebody has to take up the mantle and be able to provide leadership and drive the university towards what it's supposed to be. And yes, of course, one had to take a step back and think as to what is it that one brings the value add to the university. And I think with my history of the planning in particular, having worked in different environments, but also different types of universities. I mean, I've been to University of Technology before, which helps understand the value of the university in terms of how to turn that into something that everybody sees potential in.
Of course, you may not want to compare your former institutions with the current in terms of challenges, but there is, I'm sure, an element of what you can take away from where you're coming from, whether it be at Mangosuthu, whether it be the TUT, or whether it be overseas. When you first step in here, say perhaps the first 6 months, what could have been the first 3 things that you were able to pick up and you said, this, I need to nip them on?
Look, the bigger challenge is ensuring that the university is in a good financial footing. And that becomes important in the sense that, financial challenges have been plaguing the university. how then do we turn around the university, especially in terms of the appropriate use of our resources. Because sometimes it's not that we don't have the resources, we may have, but how we use them becomes the key. But also trying to get the university to be looked differently. Historically, as I said earlier on, you also indicated that the administration created a perception that probably the public sort of had a dim view of the university. And how then do we change that perception from the public side? And this has to do with engagements, engaging the community, talking to industry, and ensuring that people can see where this university is coming from and where we want to take it to, and how other parties like industry can play. I mean, the programs we do are industry-based, and for our students to actually graduate, the majority of them, 80% of them, have to do some work integrated learning from industry, and therefore that engagement is important as such.
If we look at what could have been the remarks, of course, from the administrator, would you say the issue or the element of trust deficit, has it really affected Brand VUT? And as you engage with the industry, with the communities, at least now your first 12 months here, how has the reception been in as far as working in ensuring that you turn around the issue of the trust deficit?
Yeah, the response has been very good, I must say. Not necessarily mentioning who, but I think you could tell the distance that has been there between the university and industry, in the sense that there was a need for direct and effective leadership to be able to engage industry leaders. It's not over. We're still engaging a number of industries that have started to come and say, we want to be party to the new VUT, and to the extent possible, whatever support we can provide. And this helps because then we have an increasing number of bursaries that we're getting for our students. So this is more important, but also it opens more opportunities for them, employment also, once they graduate.
Right. Let's talk to the academic here itself. Directly there, any specific challenges that you were able to pick up that you think you are happy that at least moving forward, post your inauguration, you'll be able to work nicely?
Yeah, we're working on enhancing our program qualification mix, but also in there, we're also saying there's a need to bring in new qualifications, taking into account that there's AI, fourth industrialization, and so on. So all those things, we have to look and say what new programs we could bring that would add value to our bouquet, but also add value to the public, but also the industry. So that's the one part. But the other element is ensuring that as a university of technology, we focus on innovation. We have Science Park in 𝐶𝐸𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐫, and just recently part of the work that was done last year was to have a master plan for the university. That master plan gives us an opportunity to see how to build this university further from where it is today. So it becomes important, the 𝐶𝐸𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐫 campus in particular, in that how do we bring in industry to work with our students? How do we create incubators for people who have ideas that they can then be incubated in our 𝐶𝐸𝐴𝐻𝐾𝐫 campus?
Let's talk service delivery outside the institution, looking into the local government in particular. You are in an area where you've got the Midvaal municipality, the Enfleni municipality, and the district itself, of course, Heidelberg with Lesedi. Across the river, you've got the Metsimaholo local municipality. In your master plan that you're making reference to, have you looked into how do you bring these local municipalities closer to the institution, in ensuring that the well-being of the Vaal as a region, Gauteng in particular, and of course in the broader South Africa, you are able to utilize the relations amongst yourself as institutions?
Look, the university is located in in the VAR, for starters. And to the extent possible, we also want to have an impact on economic development of the VAR. We do play a role also in the SEZ, which is important for us because it creates that kind of partnership with the municipality. But generally, within the context of how we interact with the local municipalities, the district municipality, and so on, it also adds to that extent. We have a number of projects also from our scientists who are looking at water issues, looking at the wastewater, and so on. So that partnership helps in the sense that our engineers also share ideas with our local municipalities in terms of what are the best solutions for the communities.
Let's move on to the big day, the inauguration, but look into what your key message will be in as far as transforming the institution, but achieving that which you would have put aside as a vision for the next 5 years at least. Beyond the event itself, what can we look forward to that will be part of your message? Not really saying we want you to share with us what will be your key message as well.
Well, look, the most important thing is that I want to ensure that everybody understands the challenges that the university faces, and to the extent possible, how are we as a university driving that process, ensuring that those challenges are eliminated to the extent possible. But also creating a university that becomes part and parcel of the VAR in terms of the type of student who are producing, the innovations that we bring, the context of, but more importantly, as I said earlier on, as a university, we also need to increase the extent to which we have people with PhDs, because without PhDs, we're not going to be able to innovate. Getting a PhD is about developing new knowledge, and to the extent possible, one of our key elements that we need to drive is making sure that our staff that we recruit have PhDs, but also we are able to produce more PhDs. That way, we're going to add value in terms of providing those innovation ideas that we could also, not just ideas, but as a university of technology, we're more practical in the sense that we want to produce a product that people can utilize and so on. So it is important from the point of view.
Let's talk about the students themselves being at the center of the institution. The issue of the financial inclusion, the financial constraints from the students. How are you dealing with that?
Look, there are a couple of things that needs to be understood though. The South African government uses both private and public contributions, which means we get subsidies from government to run universities and partly to fund the students, but the students themselves need to be able to fund themselves to be able to do that. But of course, we live in a world where it's not as easy as it sounds. Government resources are dwindling. Even the funding for students who are in need is also a strain to some extent. Therefore, it becomes important that also as a university, as I said, we engage industry to the extent possible, how they can assist us with bursaries, how they can assist us funding our students who are supposed to go for integrated learning. Especially the SETAs have played a major role in terms of that kind of support to our students. In as much as we also have a university fund that we encourage the public to also contribute to that fund, because then we're able to assist those students that cannot be assisted normally. But yes, it's a challenge not just here at VUT, across the sector.
And how does that fund work of the institution that really supports the students?
Well, there are two funds. NSFAS being the national one that covers a certain group of students, but also government has also created an opportunity for what we call the missing middle, that they can actually get a loan that they can repay directly from NSFAS. In our case, we just started a new fund last year, which our target, as I said to you, that we need to produce more PhDs. Our target is that there's a group of students who are not easily funded, either by NSFAS or bursaries. Those who are doing advanced diploma and postgraduate diploma. And that's a group that links our undergraduate or postgraduate. And without that group, we're not going to be able to have our masters and PhDs. Therefore, we're looking at how to assist those students, especially those that get distinctions in particular, and say how we entice them to be able to stay, do their advanced diploma, do their postgrad, and ultimately masters and PhD.
All right. There was a meeting or engagement with Parliament, where as an institution you were to take Parliament into confidence or really share with them the state of affairs in as far as progress is concerned. And there were a number of issues that were raised within that engagement. And I want to start with what the SRC raised that talks to positions where you've got, with your staff, quite a number of positions where it's just people acting, and you've not really appointed people on a full-time basis. What is the plan with regard to that?
Well, okay. When I joined, actually, I think there was a newspaper article that said Prof. Ndlovu without any leader managers. Of course, we had managers. Of course, we were active, but historically, because of the challenges the university faced, it was becoming difficult to really appoint permanently. And since I've arrived, we've appointed the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Commercialization. We have appointed the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Resources and Operations. We have appointed Teaching and Learning. Of course, she hasn't started. She's starting 1st of May. So those core positions are occupied. And therefore, as we start from the top, we then go down to make sure that we then make sure that everybody is then appointed. It's a tedious process because there are many vacant positions and time-consuming also. But it's something that we have to do. If you want decisions made, it's easier to make decisions with people who are permanently employed compared to people who are active. Yes, there's a process in place for that.
Okay, let's move to the labor unions. NTEU as well as NEHAU, they have equally acknowledged the positive movements within the institutional development as well since your appointment. However, they had also expressed concerns about a lack of commitment from the management in as far as issues of discipline is concerned. An issue around the slow debt recovery, the unresolved salary increments, as well as the poor communication with students regarding application status. And of course, just the last one, NEHAU, they are also indicating that they had to call the labor representation on the University Council just to emphasize the need for the legislative issues around what you are dealing with as an institution.
Salaries, they got a very good 5% increase last year, which is very surprising that they're still having an issue. Of course, we've had this concern that salaries of VUT have not been comparative to the industry. Since 2017, there hasn't been a review of how we compare with industry. So that process has been completed, effective from January 2025. Our salaries are more or less comparable because we had to bring in consultants to have a look at that. That's the first thing. Secondly, they had a very good 5%, as I said. The most important thing that I appreciate with the unions is that when I raised the issue of having salary negotiations every year, that it's not healthy. We need stability as a university so that we can plan appropriately. So the agreement signed last year also means that the next coming 3 years we have an agreement for 3 years. So 2024, 2025 and 2026. The next negotiations will be for 2027 in 2026. So that gives us a breather to focus on more pressing issues that impact on staff, conditions of service and so on, rather than spend 6 months just negotiating salary and so on. So that part is resolved, so to say.
Earlier on, you spoke about the issue of diversity and inclusion. And I want you to take us through on how do you intend to promote diversity and inclusion within the institution, but also I want to add on what steps will you take to ensure that the students feel represented and really supported within the institution?
Look, the one part that I had to deal with last year in particular is every time the students have a problem, they run to me. So I asked them, I said, I've got work to do. Yes, of course it has to do with you, but I can't be sitting with you every time. Why do we have people employed to deal with those issues? So I made sure that they have an understanding that there are people who have hired who are supposed to assist them in ways that are better at their level. And therefore, if there's a problem, they would rather come together and say, we have engaged, we have failed, and now we need your wisdom on this. So I don't want students running to me to tell me that management is not helping them or vice versa, but they must demonstrate the extent to which they have engaged. And I think that has created a platform that students know that there's no way that they will run to me, but rather have engagements with either CFO on issues of fees, on ED for student services, support services, on matters that have to do with students. Unless, of course, as I said, there is something that they can together resolve, that then they will be able to bring in a person like me. So from that point of view, it's also including students in decision making at the level that is appropriate, so that at least they not just participate in decision making, but also there's a lesson because they're becoming leaders. So there's a lot to learn, but also to the extent possible that, students are known to be very rough in terms of how they talk to managers, and we engage them to say, well, you don't have to shout, but let's sit down, have a talk and discuss. Some of these things are possible, some are not. Where we can be of assistance, we will, but where we cannot, we'll be able to indicate why we're not able to achieve that. So it is important. Inclusiveness, I think we've been trying, part of our recruitment, just maybe at high level, part of our recruitment is trying to ensure that we also bring in women into the mix. But it's been very difficult, but we're getting there with that. So there are ways in which we're trying to deal with